you. Thanks, Russ. Is that working? Good morning. Great. Slides are working. Everything works. Great to be here. Thanks very much, Google, for having me. I love coming to London. As Russ said, I lived here for 5 years, so I absolutely love any opportunity and excuse to come back and visit one of my very favorite cities in the world. I live in New York now, and all my British friends always think that I have it lucky, and they all want to live in New York, and I want to live in London, but the grass is always greener, right? Just quickly, before I jump in, I wanted to do also a little vote and get an understanding, as Matt was doing, about how people are using location-based services. So again, could we just see hands for folks who've checked in, use a location-based service to share their location? Okay, good, healthy number. How about the number of people who've used the internet to find a shop or a restaurant or a thing to do in the world? Okay, so that's basically 100%. So there's still a gap, and I think in a more mainstream audience, we'd probably see even a wider gap. And I think location-based services on your mobile with a social layer have this incredible potential to very clearly narrow that gap, right? Everyone uses information from the internet to find where to go in the real world, where their friends are, make plans. And what we're seeing now with the emergence of location-based services is a whole new paradigm for facilitating those kind of behaviors. So I'm going to try and talk a little bit about how we see location at Foursquare. Please excuse my inevitable retreat into Foursquare example and after Foursquare example. My whole world is smothered by Foursquare for the last couple of years, so that's, of course, how I think and the paradigm through which I see the world. But I will try and frame my remarks, excuse me, with the broader industry trends in mind and trying to say something more broadly about how users, merchants, and brands are embracing local services. What I wanted to do today very broadly is thinking about this audience and thinking about my own time in the UK. Maybe my view is very distorted by the tabloid culture and so on, but I know that the British culture is very skeptical, a little bit cynical, a little bit ready to question and doubt and poke holes into new things. So I wanted to try and dispel 3 myths that I think kind of might exist I don't know if in this room, but certainly in this market, based on what I've discovered so far in my interactions with folks. So the 3 myths are: 1, location-based services are a fad, not really a big deal, a lot of noise and news right now, but not a profound change in how people consume information. So that's myth number 1. Number 2, check-ins are absurd. Hear that sometimes. My grandmother's never going to check in. Well, this is stupid. What's check-ins all about? So a second myth that I think we'll try and dispel: check-ins are dumb or absurd. And a third, I guess all interrelated, is okay, so even if there is some energy around checking in and sharing location, there's not really interesting commercial opportunities for brands or merchants. So that's a third area that I want to try and dispel and talk about. But first, let's start very broadly with information consumption and how we see that evolving over time. So here's how information consumption exists today and over the last 10 years very actively. So here's someone who's trying to figure out what to do later on tonight, and she's at home on her laptop using the internet, and incredibly powerful tool, gets a lot of information about the world, but there's a very specific kind of context and place in which she's able to get information. Our real world lives don't always act in conformity with that sort of convenient picture, right? Excuse me. A lot of times we want information not when we're at home in front of the laptop, but when we're out in the real world, when we're in a bustling restaurant. And the kind of information you might want to know if you're sitting here is, what should I order? What's good here? What used to be in this restaurant space? This place is kind of new. Where should I go next? Are my mates nearby? What's a great bar or music event happening 2 hours from now? Who's the cute girl or guy sitting across the room? And do I know anyone in common? Now, I'm not suggesting Foursquare can specifically answers all those questions, but the general idea is that there's so much demand and need for information, not just in front of your laptop, but out and about in the real world. So, I think another way to frame this theoretically, I guess, is think about how information consumption is evolving and changing. So 10 plus years ago, Google developed the most awesome, amazing information retrieval system anywhere. It's a product we all know and love and use every single day. And Google's genius was showing how relevant information could be retrieved for you, relevant for you, based on the interconnectivity between web pages. Then Facebook came along, and it's not replacing Google, but it's this additive new dimension for how people are finding out information. And what Facebook's genius is revealing information and relevant context and relevant facts for people based on their social connections. And now we see location-based services evolving, like Foursquare. And what I think is happening here is that we're offering relevant information for people in the place, time, and moment when they want it, based on the interconnectivity between people and places. And maybe another way to think about it is, every single place in the world has kind of insider knowledge, right? Has experts or neighbors or proprietors who know exactly the cool insider knowledge, the history, the best things about a given shop or museum or restaurant or bar. And all of this social knowledge, let's call it, has been kind of locked and trapped up until now. And I think what we're trying to do at Foursquare and what we're seeing in the industry overall are tools that unlock this social knowledge, codify it, and share it, and allow us to get relevant information about places in a way that was never possible before. So, let's walk through an illustration. So this guy is, let's call him Bob. He's a British office worker. He's in New York on a 3-day conference. He walks out day one. He's really hungry. It's lunchtime. They're not feeding him. Where do I go? I'm really hungry. I only have 20 minutes. So he pulls out the phone and tries to get relevant information for him right away. So let's say he fires up Foursquare. And this is a view of our Explore tab. It's a product within Foursquare. It's like our recommendation engine. We look at your check-in history, your friends' check-in history, the patterns of brands and experts that you follow and love on Foursquare, and we sort of mix that all up and give you very specific, hopefully relevant search results, essentially, telling you, hey, we think you'll like places A, B, and C. So Bob fires up Explore. He's eaten at a lot of hot dog places every other time he's come to the United States. So Foursquare suggests, hey, you're 4 blocks away from Papaya Dog, or it's also known as Gray's Papaya. I don't know if anyone's been there, but it's this kind of really gross but awesome New York hot dog place. There's only 1 or 2 of them. It's really like insider New York. I don't think it's quite makes the guidebooks, but if you ask any local, especially any local who lives downtown, it's kind of a legendary part of New York. It's a fun part of the city experience. I think it's on 6th Avenue and 8th Street. And it's like they sell hot dogs for like $1. I think it's the only thing you can get for $1 now in New York City. And it's gross, but kind of yummy gross, right? So it's really a fun thing. So Bob finds out about Crepe Papayas. Amazing. He used location-based services to find a place he wouldn't have found otherwise. He goes there. He stands online waiting. And now he has another information need. He's trying to figure out what to order. So again, he fires up Foursquare. He checks in. And what Foursquare does is return to him, based on his friends and based on the brands and experts that he follows on Foursquare, it returns location-specific content to Bob standing there in the line of Great Papayas. And it does so in the form of tips. It's another part of the Foursquare experience. It's sort of our word for reviews, mini reviews that users submit into Foursquare about each given place. And they're really great. It's a great set of content. It's ideas on what you should order and where you should sit or what have you. Little insider tips. So in this case, Bob gets this tip from Mario Batali. I don't know if he's famous here, but he's a really famous celebrity chef in the United States. He's like the Jamie Oliver of the United States. And he's this really huge celebrity chef. He has all these TV shows, all these books. And Mario Batali has entered in hundreds of tips within Foursquare. And if you follow him, you get his tips as you go around New York and other cities, giving you insight and advice based on Mario Batali's view of the world. So it's like walking around the New York food scene with Mario Batali on your shoulder, right? Would it be cool to walk around London with Jamie Oliver on your shoulder? It's that idea. Maybe that's not that interesting. But it's kind of a fun idea. So in this case, he's standing in line at Gray's Papaya. Mario Batali says, yes, Gray's Papaya, order 2 dogs, well done for that caviar crunch, and a papaya drink, and understand the promise of America with its streets paved with gold. I don't really know what that means, but it's like, a fun example of the enthusiasm that Mario Batali really has for these hot dogs. Other examples of how brands are adding supplemental context and information to someone's real-world experience are here. These are other views in the Foursquare experience. On the screenshot on the left, we see a Zagat's list. Zagat's is like Michelin guides to food, restaurant review guide. Actually, Google just bought it, so you may have seen it in the news. Zagat's has a big presence on Foursquare. Here's an example on the left of the Zagat's top 10 Mexican restaurants in New York. They've created a list, quote unquote. You can do that within Foursquare. And people who follow Zagat's see, as they go around the city, the Zagat's view of the world, the Zagat's layer of information on New York City, for example. On the right is a screenshot from the Real Housewives of New York. This is a TV show, reality show in the States by the Bravo Network, which is one of the cable channels owned by NBC Universal. And it's one of these crazy reality TV shows where the Real Housewives of New York are always fighting and throwing things at each other. And on the show, they get into these physical fistfights, I guess, in various locations, again, around New York. So if you're a fan of the show, you can follow them on Foursquare, and as you go around Foursquare, you see like all the different locations where there's been a fight. And so this is an example of Bravo-created content. A trusted brand, maybe a brand that you love, has created content that provides this sort of geo-layer on the real world. Those are some broad thoughts about information consumption and why we think location-based services are not a fad, but are sort of part of a more profound emergence of new valuable features. Pivoting a little bit into Foursquare-specific products, what we're trying to do is to sort of say it another way, is make the world easier to use. Make your community more discoverable, make it more fun. So Foursquare helps you explore the world around you, meet up with friends, discover new places, save money using your phone. Whether you're testing out new yoga studios, coordinating a museum visit, trying to pick the best dish, Foursquare is the perfect companion. I think our marketing team wrote that slide. But some of the same themes that we've been talking about for location-based services overall. For us specifically, here's some numbers just to give some context of and to underline the point that this is not quite theoretical. We think location-based services will be important one day. It's actually already happening in the world. We're already experiencing and meeting demand from users to embrace these services. So these are numbers for Foursquare alone. Google and many others, of course, have their own multi-million numbers that show how much people are embracing this technology and these set of products. So for Foursquare, we have over 10 million people who have signed up to the service, over 1 billion check-ins cumulatively over the last 2 years. That's a great number. It's a big number. Every single day, several million people are checking into Foursquare, so it's really happening. Over 500,000 businesses have, quote-unquote, verified or signed up onto Foursquare. We have tens of millions of businesses that are in our database, but of that, over 500,000 have actually gone to our website and gone through this 5-minute self-service process to, quote-unquote, verify. And when a merchant verifies on Foursquare, they can do all sorts of things, which I'll mention in a minute. And for Foursquare, at least, we're seeing over 50% of usage and users outside the United States. So this is a real global phenomenon. Okay, so Foursquare specifically, I mentioned earlier one of the myths I wanted to address was checking in is absurd, right? The grandmother argument. My grandmother will never check in. By the way, that may be true. I'm okay if this might be a demographic thing, right? If only folks who are a certain younger demographic use the service, that may be the way it evolves. We'll see. But I think there's value here for everyone. And what we offer as a baseline experience is this idea of checking in. The idea is you fire up Foursquare when you're out and about in the real world. We give you a list of places that we think you're probably at or near based on your phone's GPS. And then if you so choose, you can hit the green button that says check in. And that sends a message to your Foursquare friends that, hey, I'm at Ping Pong Restaurant in Soho. Of course, it's fully optional, fully voluntary, right? There's no creepy background location tracking. Like if you don't want to be found, you don't open up Foursquare. Or you open up Foursquare, but you don't hit the check-in button. So it's fully, the whole privacy model is built around voluntary checking in and sharing your location with friends when you so desire. As I said, when you check in, the information goes to your friends. That helps facilitate the sort of serendipitous meetups that sometimes happen. Oh, I didn't know my two mates were also in Soho. I'll go find them after dinner and grab a beer with them. In some cases as well, the last point on this slide, users can choose to send a given check-in to their Facebook and Twitter friends as well. But again, that's completely optional. So that's the check-in, kind of bland, kind of straightforward. We see it as the building block. There's so much more value to build on top of that. And we're starting to do this, and we're starting to see users embrace these kind of value-added services on top of checking in. So one thing that's interesting beyond that is social encouragement. Foursquare has been doing a whole host of things around gaming mechanics to motivate people to check in and use the service, and motivate people, much more importantly, to do more interesting things in the real world. And so, for example, on the left, we have a point system where we give different levels of points the more for different types of activities. So you might get 2 extra points because you're now checking in with Nick and you haven't seen your friend Nick in 3 months. You get 4 extra points because you haven't been to a music venue in 4 months. And these kind of points are fun, they're competitive. And on the lower left, we have a weekly leaderboard. It's sort of a top leaderboard of you against all your friends and how many cumulative points you have in any given 7-day period. And it's sort of like a interesting index or interestingness index, like how interesting and cool and fun is your life compared to your friends. And some people don't care about the points in the leaderboard, and some people really love it and get really competitive and go out that extra night and go to a museum, maybe when they wouldn't have otherwise, just to get the points. It works for some people, not interesting to others. On the right, we see other parts of the gaming mechanics that motivate people to go out and do fun things. We have these things called badges. They're like little pieces of digital candy, a little virtual treat that we award users when they do something interesting or a set of things that are interesting. So on the right is the Gym Rat badge. You get the Gym Rat badge if you've checked into the gym 10 times. So it's a nice little sort of goal post to get you to go to that gym that extra time. And we have hundreds of badges. We have badges, if you go to karaoke a certain number of times per month, you get the Don't Stop Believing badge. Or if you go out 4 nights in a row, you get the Crunked badge, and on and on and on, all these kind of fun reward systems to get people to go out and do more interesting things. The last aspect of our gaming mechanic that I want to mention is our mayor thing. So that's sometimes that's what Foursquare is known for. If you go to a certain place more than any other individual, you become the mayor, quote unquote, of that place. And that's kind of a fun honorific. Again, some people don't care. Other people get really into it and make sure that they go to their local Cafe Nero, every single day because they want to preserve and protect their mayorship. Other parts of value that we add onto the check-in are this whole idea of discovery. And this is, I think, really, really core and elemental to where we're trying to push Foursquare. We want our product, and I think, again, the promise of the industry as a whole is to help people find great things to do in the real world. So, on the left is a screenshot of your friend check-in stream. I might look at that and say, oh, my friend Chrysanthi is eating this beautiful-looking key lime pie. Like, where is she? I want to go there. So it's sort of like social prodding and discovery. And on the right is a screenshot again of our Explore product, which I talked about earlier, our recommendation engine, our Google for the real world, let's say, a tool people use to find cool things to do in the real world. And then lastly, yet another layer, rewarding loyalty, connecting merchants and stores and shops with their most intense and passionate fans and visitors. So this is another set of things that the check-in enables. So what we do for merchants is build and offer a range of tools to help them identify who their most loyal customers are and give them treats, give them rewards, give them motivations for coming back again and again. So we have this thing called specials. That's sort of our word for mobile coupons. And we let merchants give specials to users who do certain things. So for example, we have a loyalty special. If you come 10 times to a certain restaurant, the proprietor gives you a free dessert. Or if you're the mayor of a given coffee shop, the proprietor will always give you a free coffee. Perhaps other types of specials are around even more explicitly financial opportunities, discounts, and deals. You get $40 off a $60 purchase or what have you. By the way, the specials and the rewards that we let merchants offer to users don't have to be financial. Some of the best specials we see are more about service and treating users like VIPs. So one of my favorite specials, for example, is a mall in New Jersey. They have it's a huge mall, huge parking lot, and the parking spot that's just near the front door is reserved for the Foursquare mayor. And there's like a sign on it that says reserved for the Foursquare mayor. So you see kind of fun and creative and clever ways that merchants are using the platform as well. And indeed, we're seeing already over 500,000 merchants using Foursquare to connect with their most loyal customers and visitors. Here's just a smattering of big names that have already been experimenting with the platform. Many of them are U.S.-based, but many of them are global, and I'm sure you recognize the names: McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Marriott, Arby's, Best Buy, JCPenney, and many, many more. Burberry's is up there too. Burberry's is doing great stuff with Foursquare in London. Right now they have a special campaign going on where the mayor of each Burberry's shop gets a free fragrance that's signed by the Burberry's creative director. So if you're really into Burberry's, really into their fragrance, this is sort of a fun extra special treat that you get and that Burberry's gives you to recognize your loyalty. Another example is Radio Shack. Radio Shack is a big U.S.-based, I think it's U.S. exclusive, based electronics retailer. And they have 57 locations across the United States. They've gotten over 50,000 followers on Foursquare. They found that they've been running different types of specials. They've been seeing greater foot traffic coming in from Foursquare users. They run a special. They see their check-in volume spike. Like it actually works to drive foot traffic. They see that the Foursquare customers are more valuable. They're spending 3.5 times as much as the non-Foursquare customers. And in general, also Radio Shack and other merchants who verify are getting real-world data on how Foursquare users are visiting and behaving in their stores. So this kind of data reporting, it's free to merchants who sign up using to sign up and verify within Foursquare. It's fully anonymized and aggregated, so it's not about individual users, but in total it shows a merchant how their check-in volume is evolving day to day, how many of their visitors are new versus old, what the gender breakdown is, just very interesting statistics that many merchants have never even seen. So all of these are examples of how Foursquare and other location-based services are providing value to merchants and to brands. Another sort of angle here is that merchants are pushing users to check in when they're in their venues. That allows them to surface tips and get users to sort of trigger social media advertising. Whenever a user checks into a Cafe Nero, that check-in message goes to their friends. On Foursquare, sometimes it goes to Twitter and Facebook. So this is a really nice social media advertising for merchants. For brands, we also have a set of services. We have over 5,000 brands using Foursquare. Here's an example on the left from BBC America. They're using Foursquare to help promote a bunch of their American programming agenda, including Doctor Who. There's a tip at the top there, the Bell House. It's a big, cool club that's near my apartment in Brooklyn. And when you check in there, you get this message from BBC America, if you're following BBC America, that says, oh yeah, there's a Doctor Who launch party here. You should come check us out. A whole bunch of brands as well. On the right, 10 Downing Street is now starting to use Foursquare. Cameron checked in to the UN General Assembly 2 weeks ago from New York. The White House is using it as well. Obama has just started to sign up, and many, many other brands. Here's one more example I want to walk through. History Channel UK. They've been doing a great job using Foursquare to connect with their fans and sort of take their content and their brand off the TV and into this new medium and this new experiential way to connect with their fans and their users. So they have a brand page, is what we call it on Foursquare. They have hundreds of tips that they've left around London. And if you follow History Channel UK on Foursquare and you check in near or at an important site, you'll get a little content nugget, let's call it, from the History Channel. So for example, if I check in near 10 Downing Street, the History Channel will give me a tip that says, hey, did you know that 10 Downing Street was built with yellow bricks? And over the last couple hundred years, it got very dark with pollution and so on. And then in the 90s, when they refurbished it, they just went ahead and painted it black. So that's interesting. Just if you're a fan of the History Channel and interested in history content, Foursquare is a way to sort of connect with that kind of content and brands in a real world, real time manner. Good. So I mentioned, early in my speech that I wanted to try and address 3 myths. One, that LBS and location-based services are fad. 2, check-ins are absurd. And 3, there's no commercial opportunities for merchants and brands. I want to end, I guess on a broad note, getting to the key first point. I hope I addressed the second and third as well. We don't think it's a fad. We think this is a really profound new way that people are interacting with information and finding out how to experience their worlds. This is an example. This is not an example. This is a data set, an illustration of Foursquare users based on where they come from. So each sort of color band is Foursquare registered users, and the red dots are our earliest users. The green are sort of folks who've been on the service for 6 to 18 months, and the blue are the newer users. So as you can see, of course, a very heavy concentration in the United States and on the East Coast and on the West Coast, but also tremendous usage in Europe and parts of Asia as well. And I think what's happening is people are embracing these services, not just Foursquare, but location in general, because we're providing a lot of value, because they're excited to use mobile to explore the real world. And my last slide, I think probably what's happening on a macro level is that we and others are benefiting from the confluence of 3 huge transformative forces. And Foursquare and others sit right in the middle of these 3. What's happening in local is a huge revolution in local advertising. Groupon, Living Social, and others have basically created or unlocked a $5 billion local advertising market in the last couple of years. And no matter what you think about Groupon's potential success as a company in the future, it's clear that they've disrupted local advertising, and they've shown that local advertisers want and need new mediums. Mobile, of course, is absolutely exploding. All of a sudden, billions of people are walking around with mini computers and mobile sensors in their pocket. And we're seeing in many parts of the world, of course, people leapfrogging PC-based internet so that their only interaction with the internet is through the mobile device. And then, of course, social, Facebook and others have revolutionized how we think about our social networks and the kind of assets and advantages and benefits we can get from social networking. So all of these 3 together are creating a really profound groundswell change in how people experience the real world. And I think this is why there's so much dynamism, attention, hype, energy, and actual usage changes in behavior within the location space. So thank you very much. I had one last comment. I know I'm out of time, but I'll take 20 more seconds just to share some exciting news. Given the growth in Europe and the UK, all the energy that we're seeing at Foursquare for location-based services, we're officially proud to announce that we're opening our own UK office as of today. This is our first non-US extension for Foursquare. We've hired a business development executive named Omid Ashtari, who has started with us a couple weeks ago. He's with his teammates in New York and San Francisco for the next couple months, and then in November he'll be moving to London. He'll be moving back to London. He's spent most of the last 10 years here to help Foursquare be on the ground to work with agencies and merchants and users to help solidify and extend our efforts here. So we're very excited about that piece of corporate news. So thanks very much. I'll be here all day. Very excited to try and talk to many of you at the breaks and at lunch. Thank you.